Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Soviet Tier 9 Tech Tree Heavy Tank, the Object 257. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Object 257. It's a tank that I played a decent amount on PC, because I was grinding up to the IS-7 on PC, and I had to go through the 257. But on console, it's a tank that I had very little experience with. And that's because I did the grind a long time ago, before the 257 even existed on console. And that is because, originally, to get to the IS-7, you had to go through the T10. But then they added the 277 and decided that they were going to move it so that the T10 went to the 277. And then they added a stopgap tank between the IS-3 to the IS-7, which was the Object 257. There's lots of sevens going off here. But yes, they added the Object 257. And it is a pretty good heavy tank, to be honest. It's one of those tanks that the armour is really odd. It just is. The armour on this vehicle is really odd because it's super well angled on the side, meaning you can get some really troll bounces on the side armour, and it's also pretty thick. The lower plate is obviously a weak spot. The upper plate, generally on the pike nose, is, well, it's very Soviet pike nosy, in the fact that if you are straight on to an enemy vehicle, it's really quite strong, and you're quite likely to ricochet shots off your upper plate. But as soon as you angle, it becomes far, far weaker, and people find it fairly easy to go through that upper plate. But only if you angle towards them. So like that G-Saw, for example, if he was to shoot the upper plate, he'd probably go through at this sort of angle. But if he was straight on, he's more likely to ricochet, right? But because of the side armour, you can get some really troll bounces off the side of it. You can side scrape in really weird ways with the 257, which means you can bounce a lot of shots, and this tank is genuinely one of those that is all about just learning the armour and how it works, generally. And finding out how best, and getting a feel of how best to get the most out of it and to get ricochets. Because it's one of those that doesn't really act quite like other heavy tanks, right? It's not like an E75, for example, which is the tank that I do love, which is fairly simple to get to grips with. It's got a big gun, it slaps, it's got decent mobility with that 40 km/h top speed or whatever the E75 has got, and it's got very boxy armour. So when you get to a side scraping position, you side scrape, you will bounce shots off your side. You angle, you'll make it less likely for people to be able to go through your lower plate, sorry, and it makes it more hard to pen. The 257 doesn't have that. You've got to play it in really weird and wonderful ways to be able to make the most of the armour. The gun is alright, though. Generally, it's very, very, if we're honest, it's very, very Soviet. So this tank generally has a very good top speed. It's got 50 km/h top speed with a 15.45 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you generally get quite close to that 50 km/h top speed in this tank. You generally go between 45 to 50 pretty easily, which is, you know, it's a nice asset for it. You've got 499 meters of view range with the build that I run, which is pretty damn good. It means you'll spot for yourself very, very easily. 35 degrees a second on the track traverse, which is okay. 29.19 degrees a second on the turret traverse with the build that I run, which means we've tried to help it out as much as humanly possible, which means it's still way, way slower than the tracks. So bear that in mind, that the track traverse really isn't that great for the vehicle. You've got a 9.12 second reload, which is 2.8, nearly 2.9k DPM, which is pretty nice, again, for 440 alpha on this tank. 0.64 accuracy during rotation, with 1.83 accuracy during movement, with the build that I run, is, again, pretty good for the Soviet-type gun. And it means that the aim circle doesn't bloom out that badly at all, and you don't really feel the 2.5 second aim time that we have with the build that I run all that badly. 0.32 accuracy at 100 meters is the best we can get it to, though, which is fairly Soviet, which means occasionally the APCR shells will just derp to the floor because, well, Soviet guns and Soviet RNG. They'll hit the shots that they really shouldn't and then miss the shots that they really should. You know, it's one of those things. It's an age-old problem. You got 248 penetration on the standard APCR rounds with 315 heat pen, which means you'll go through pretty much everything you're going to face in the 257, which is definitely a nice asset for the heavy tank. Your velocity on the APCR is 930 meters a second, which is the same as the heat rounds, which means they are below average shell velocity, because as I always say, the average shell velocity for a tank in World War II is about 1,000, and once you're going above that, you're starting to feel that noticeably how good it gets once you get above 1,000. Once you're below 1,000, however, the guns start to feel even derpier, and it generally feels pretty unwieldy to use at times. And 930 isn't the nicest in the universe. And it feels weird, because you're firing APCR shells. The APCR shells are naturally red tracers. You go, oh, I'm firing APCR. APCR is usually faster. No, on the 257, you really do feel that lack of shell velocity on this vehicle. Which means you have to really give a good amount of lead to be able to hit your targets at distance. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on this tank? Well, I do run fairly standard heavy tank crew. Born leader, rapid reload, 6th sense, situational awareness, steady aim, snapshot, run and gun, track mechanic, rapid aim, with the advanced loader, the gun stabilizer, and optics. Optics to be able to get that 499 meters of view range, so I can spot for myself quite happily, and especially useful on some of the maps like the map you're going to see in the next replay. Gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during movement and rotation down as low as possible, so again, this gun isn't blooming out that badly, and so I don't feel the 2.5 second aim time. All 3 gun perks to make sure the gun is as good as possible. Like I say, the advanced load to make the best out of the DPM, and rapid aim to make the turret traverse as good as it can be, because the turret traverse is very slow on this vehicle, so getting it up towards where the track traverse is, and it's still way lower than that, is preferable for me personally. So as you can see in that first game, we finished with 3 kills, 5.1k damage. The first class, the Confederate medal, the sniper, the high caliber, 1602 base XP. A really nice game there for the Object 257 on that map, which was no, it's not Pilsen. What am I saying? Duckler Pass. What? Brain? Are we okay? Okay, no, it's Duckler Pass. Go around like a donut pass. Oh wait, that's Cold War. Anyway, we're on the second replay, and the second replay, as you can see, it's Prokhorovka, but it's the Halloween version. It's Grim Graveyard, and Grim Graveyard is a nice version of Prokhorovka. I say it just adds a little bit of variation to the play, because you've got extra little bits of cover knocking around, which means that you can take some positions and use some positions a lot easier, and some new positions appear as well for each team to use. As well as that, some positions that might work on standard proc don't work anymore because of the fact that there's extra cover that might cover the shots, all that good stuff. I enjoy it when it comes around, Grim Graveyard, because it just adds a little extra flavour to the gameplay, and it's not a bad thing, right? So, on Grim Graveyard, or in Prokhorovka, both the same, we'll come to this position here at F3. It's a nice position to take, because even with a tank that's got 5 degrees of gun depression, like this tank, you can still poke over and get shots down the 1-2. Now, it's a little bit easier on Grim Graveyard, because again, there's more cover, which means that you have more chance to get up and stay safe when you go up on top of the ridgeline and not take hits from certain positions. But on the whole, it's a nice position to take because there's different elevations on this ridgeline, on this position, which means that you can work the gun depression a little bit easier. So we're up to 447 damage so far with 361 hit points, and I'm really hoping to get a shot into that T49, because getting rid of that T49 will be glorious. He is a very stock T49 because he's got the weird turret, but getting rid of the enemy light tank on proc or on Grim Graveyard, for example, is always a very, very important thing, because the team that has the best scout in this map usually wins. And I say usually because obviously sometimes there's no good scouting and being the best scout if you're lighting up all the targets and you're going, yes, they're all lit up, and you're constantly doing it and you're alive till the end of the game still trying to do that if nobody shoots them. And as we all know, the frustration of teams on this game at times, sometimes the teams go, hey, there's tanks spotted, should we shoot them? Nah, we're okay. Let them shoot us instead. We like getting peppered with shells. Extra holes in the tank. It's air conditioning these hot things, right? But I digress. If you can get rid of the light tank, absolutely do it. And it's always a good thing. We use the heat rounds there against the 279E. because if we try and get the cupola with the APCR rounds, it's a bit awkward. The APCR rounds like to ricochet because they've only got like 2 degrees of normalization. So they like to ricochet off the 257s, or the, not 257, the 279's turret, because of obviously the angling. If we load heat, it's more likely that if it hits that cupola, it's probably going to go in. And that's exactly what happened. We're up to 1,335 damage and 564 assistance. The grill gets spotted. It's like, Mr. Grill Friend, I am here to shoot you, my buddy. But, we don't quite get the chance to get the shot there into the griller. And unfortunately, that 279E from the back fires heat straight through our upper plate, or not even the upper plate. You can see the penetration marker there, giving us that air conditioning hole, putting us down 1 shot of damage. But Mr. 279E gets lit up again. We got the APCR rounds in because I didn't want to waste my heat rounds, and that time, thank goodness RNG, the shell flew straight through the cupola, penetrating him, putting him down to a 1 shot. And I think, you know what? I could Hey-Chi that 279. It'd be nice to get rid of that guy because he's quite happy to just sit there. Sadly, the Hey-Chi round misses because, well, the 279 got unspotted, so God knows if it was still there. The Grill 15 gets spotted this time. We are going to take the opportunity to get up, get a shot into his side. He's taken another hit from someone else. He's now a 2 shot for us, and, well, generally for our team. We see the 268 version 5, and I'm like, Mr. 268 version... Mr. 268 version 5? Did we ever think this was a good idea? Okay, well, don't mind if I shut you down. And we finish off that Soviet Tier 10 Premium Tank Destroyer there. We're up to 3k damage and 1,400 assistance. The Valor and the Chieftain have both moved into the dip in front of us. And that shot went, what? Excuse me? That shell looked weird, man. That was weird. Oh, well. The Chieftain and the Valor have moved into the dip, which... possibly a mistake with me and the MBTB in this position, because they're not going to be able to poke over shooting our team quite any easily at all, whatever, because me and the MBTB are just going to keep punishing them every time they do, and that's what we have to do. We've just got to make sure that we're getting the shots in. So he gets shot by my MBTB, I go for the shot into his side there, and sadly... we hit the turret front and we ricochet. The Leopard 1 was looking to try and get shots in. Unfortunately for us, naturally, the Chieftain and the Valor being in the position they're in means they are spotting our guys down the 1-2 line, which is just a little bit awkward. The Griller's a 1-shot, so I know that for if he gets spotted again, we really could get rid of that big gun out of the game. Chieftain overexposes his side to try and get a shot into us, and we finish him off. That Chieftain couldn't actually get a shot at us without doing that, which was always really good. We ricochet off side of the K91. Okay, thank you, game. Watching that E4 because that E4 really wants to get a shot into us, but I don't want to take the hit from the E4 naturally because, well, it's going to hurt, and an E4 has a lot of damage that would take a lot of the hit points away from us. That would, well, we need it because at the minute it's 10-6. We're losing quite badly. They've got 2 guys that are on the hill, and at this point I'm thinking, oh no, we might get encircled here if we're not careful. E4 takes a hit from the medium tank at the back. The Waffle E100 gets spotted. Nicely put a shot into the Waffle E100's turret there. And I'm thinking, right, this position is not going to work for us very, very soon because their tanks will probably get to that place that's just been pinged. They're going to start wanting to try and get shots into us, and, well, I've had it happen ever so often where we're having a good game. We've done a lot of spotting. We've done a lot of putting off of the enemy team. But because we didn't win the other side, they're going to start getting positions that can shoot us in the ass, and we don't want that. So we are progressing now. We've taken the bowl, we've got rid of the Valor and the Chieftain. 2 heavy tanks progressing down the 1 and the 3 line, which is good. We're now actually down to 6-6. But we're going to go try and be the spotter. Look what we've got. We've got a TD, a heavy tank at J2, we've got a medium tank at K3. We're going to go use this ridgeline in front of us to spot anybody that tries to come over the train tracks, spot anyone that tries to get shots into our rear from this flank, and hopefully we'll get some assistance for it. So we spot the Moisture and the Leopard 1, which is great. Sadly, they don't take any hits. Well, in fact, they take a hit. There we go. And this is why we came here, because if nobody takes the position that I've come to, they're just going to be able to push and relentlessly get shots into us, and also just have free reign, which is something that we are trying to stop. Thankfully, with the 2 heavy tanks pushing into E2, in that position down there, they managed to get rid of the guys that could be shooting me in the side from the main ridgeline. The 2 medium tanks are bugging out, and I'm thinking, right, okay, I could try and get some shots into the ST1 or the Moisture that was spotted. Try and get some shots into the side of the Leopard, well, the medium tanks that ran away as well. 257 gets spotted on the hill. We sadly bounced there because we had a really awkward angle to try and get a shot in. Leopard 1 gets spotted. Oh, we just tried to snap the shot into the Leopard 1 and it just misses. And we're up to 4.7k damage with that 3.1k assistance. The 257 gives us his ass, which we'll quite happily take there with the shot with the heat round, tracking him in place. Hopefully we get the shot before he repairs, but sadly he just gets the repairing. Oh, we need Neo! He's the chosen one! Neo absolutely dodges the shot. It had us on there. And sadly we don't get the kill there on the 257, which would have been pretty handy. It's still 6-6. So we're just being careful now. Our heavy tank is at F5, being very careful not to be pushed over, but it's got good cover. And I really want to try and get rid of this ST1 if I can. But also, I know, if I try and poke round under this bridge to get some shots at people like the Moisture or the 2 medium tanks, or try and find that 257, Bob's your uncle, or Bob's a fish, there's the 257, we get a shot through the lower, well, we tried to get a shot through the lower plate there of the 257, but it didn't work. And it's like, hello, Mr. 257, can we get a shot through his upper plate? There we go, with the heat round. That 315 pen helping us out there. We shut down our opposition counterpart. So we're just going to look to see if we can find the ST1. We can't quite see him. The Moisture actually has shots at us, but he's not looking at us, so something else is. We're trying to snap the shot as quickly as possible into the back of that Moisture's turret, because I don't want to sit around for too long, because I don't want to lose too many hit points, because it'll make it awkward to deal with these guys. We get a shot into the back of the Moisture there, so I'm hoping that my heavy tank will be able to deal with him pretty quickly. ST1's trying to come for us, but this position under the bridge is exceptionally awkward for us, because the gun depression is really just not letting us quite get the shot in. We go for the heat round into the cupola there, or the little sticky outy bit of the ST1's turret, but we didn't pen it. And again, the position under that bridge with the gun depression was just making it very, very awkward, and we couldn't quite find the shot. So we're going to make it better, and that is, we're going to go over to where the time to climb this ridge isn't that long, because look at the terrain. Look at the way the terrain becomes the closer we get to the back end of the map. And it means that for a tank like this with a lack of gun depression, it's a lot easier to use our gun depression. So we come over, look for the lower plate of the ST1. The angle on that lower plate of the ST1 ends up ricocheting our heat shell, meaning we don't pen it. Aiming it properly this time though, thankfully get the shot in to shut him down, and that game that looked fairly dangerous at one point and fairly lost at one point, it's turned around to a victory. And we're finished with the 4 kills, 6,017 damage, 3.9k, nearly 4k assistance, that's about 10k combined nearly. Ace Tanker, the Confederate, with that 2.1, nearly 2.2k base XP. A really great game there for the Object 257. A tank that is pretty nice to play, and it leads on to the i7. And yeah, that's just the 257 for you. It's one that I hadn't really played that much on console because, well, I had no need to, because I'd already unlocked the i7 and gone for the 277 with the T10. But there we go. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!